Right, well, I posted the first of these videos on August the 18th, and a bit of a discussion followed on Up the Saddlers subsequently for a couple of days. And I guess if the second of my reasons for being disillusioned is a lack of kind of connectedness or camaraderie between the fans, then I probably need to respond. The first theme that's cropped up really is the politics of all this. I don't subscribe to a view that would say that it's just a bloody game. That's too simplistic. For me, football ought to be about representation. My club ought to represent me within my society. My club ought to represent me within the media. It ought to be representative, I think, of my hopes and my aspirations. And I think more and more football isn't. I think it's representative of the hopes and aspirations of an elitist group of billionaires who are effectively distanced from the communities that they should serve and the communities that they should engage with. Football is political because it's embedded within society, it's mediated, it mediates our relationships with each other. I think it's also political because if we look at Amnesty's report on governance in the UAE, that impacts on Man City's recent takeover. They also had some things to say about Thaksin Shinawatra and whether he was a fit and proper person to be owning a football club. We also have, at the other end of the scale, the franchise stealing Wimbledon's culture and community, or attempting to steal it. It got reinvented obviously at AFC Wimbledon, but certainly stealing their place within the Football League. And finally, I guess we've got things like the fact that News International owns Sky, they own the Times, they own the Sun, and yet there's still been no apology for what the Sun wrote about Liverpool fans after Hillsborough. I really do think that to argue that football is not political, that it's just a game, is naive. It should be more than that. The second issue that was raised was about the relationship between the fans and the board, the fans and the club, but it was the board really people were talking about. Whether the fans felt or whether individuals felt as if the board was talking to them, was talking about their aspirations and expectations, about whether they had a vision for the football club. And this is certainly where I have major issues really, that I don't think that football club makes enough of its connections with local schools. I don't think it does enough to see itself as a kind of a leading light, working with faith organisations or the council or with supporters groups, in order really to represent those aspirations, the aspirations of those different communities, to move the club forward really beyond the business side. I think that club ought to be more than just a business, that it ought to be working towards enhancing society and lives within Walsall, and I don't see it doing that. I don't see where the vision for moving the football club comes from beyond a business-related sustainability. I'm not naive enough to think that we should be bankrupted in order to shoot for the stars really, but I don't see where the business side and the football side, the vision for those working towards a better future for the people of Walsall comes in, and I find that a bit frustrating really, alongside finding it frustrating that there's no, whenever we ask for things like risk assessments of the fact that the club does not own the land on which it plays football, we get blanked. It'll all be alright in the end. We never get appropriate responses about the level of debt that exists at the football club, about the fact that debts are being serviced from outside of the board of directors, and about what that means, the risk that that holds for the football club and the football club's future. And a lot of this is about decision making really. It's about why are those business decisions made, what's the rationale for them, where those impact upon the club within the community or the club as a football playing entity. And that's what I struggle with really. The lack of openness, the lack of transparency, the lack of a proper engagement with fans. there was a third really interesting theme that crops up in that UTS discussion, and that was around attending, what it means for an individual to attend the game on a Saturday. For me, this used to be a lot about camaraderie. Really wasn't really about the 90 minutes. The 90 minutes was just something to discuss, maybe a kind of a shared experience really. But those people I used to go with now either don't go because they're disillusioned, or they're working, or they're sitting with other people, or they've emigrated. So it means a lot less to me. The 90 minutes on its own, I'm not sure, is enough to capture me. And this is, I think, as Exile said, a crisis of faith. I think I've got to a point where I don't necessarily feel I'm being duped. I don't think that anybody else who goes is being duped. I think that you make your own decisions about what it is that you do. And for me, the sale of Scott Dan and Danny Fox last year, the collapse of the possible promotion charge, or push for the playoffs at least, the football club yet again stonewalling the questions that the supporters society asked at the AGM, and the reaction really of the fans to what the supporters society tried to do really made me think, well, why am I going? Do I really feel as if I belong here? And I think I'm probably in with Geordie Sadler really when he says enough is enough. There's only so many hits you can take really before you think that your way of looking at the world, or your way of looking at a particular set of experiences changes, and that happened for me last year. There were just too many more hits really that left me feeling disillusioned and disenfranchised, not just from Walsall, although primarily from Walsall, but also from football at large.